mean, shit, honest with you, man, she's a
Bad things, fine as hell, thick as fuck, oh my god, that's my baby, Caroline.
When I look at my installs now and see just how natural, scalp, like you can't tell me that's my real hair they look, it makes me chuckle to think of just how far of a way I've really come with these installs, because not too long ago, my hair, my wig installs used to look, jump scare warning, it used to look like this. Yes, in broad daylight, sis, in front of everybody, in front of God and man.
Oh my God. What is
You
that?
gotta start somewhere, am I right? And if I haven't gone through all these trials and errors with my wig install, the weird, awkward beginner wig install phase, I wouldn't be able to be here to make this video for you guys today, which is sharing 7 things that I have learned throughout my wig install journey that's really helped me change my wig install game to be giving this scalpiana look that I'm able to flex on you guys now. So if you're interested in any of these tips and tricks and just want to chill and hang out with me for a few seconds, then sit back, relax, let's get into today's video. Starting off with tip number 1. Now we all know it's important to bleach your knots to give that scalpiana effect, but as a beginner I would always bleach my knots, but I would never see a big difference. Like, it wasn't giving scalp the way I knew it was supposed to, and I realized I was not applying enough pressure to push that bleach past just the bottom of the lace for it to actually cover the knots on the top. Because I was always so scared of over bleaching my knots and mistakenly getting bleach onto the hair itself, I wouldn't apply so much pressure. But I realized for you to really get that scalp effect, you need to push your bleach in enough for it to cover up the knots on top of the lace as well. You should not be able to see any of those little black dots. It should just be white bleach covering it, just enough for it to cover up all those knots and for it to give an actual scalp-like appearance, which is the whole point of us bleaching the wig to start off with. You should not be able to see any of those little black dots. It should just be white bleach covering it, just enough for it to cover up all those knots and for it to give an actual scalp-like appearance, which is the whole point of us bleaching the wig to start off with. This brings me right into tip number 2. I never knew exactly what I was going for when I said bleach your knots. I just know I'm applying the bleach and somehow it goes from black to orange. So I'd always just kind of like leave my knots till it was lifted to that orangey color, that copper color, because that's what I learned one time in a tutorial. But I realized for my skin tone, I need to leave the bleach on longer because I do have a bit of a medium fair shade, so I need to leave it past that orange color and let it lift to more like an orangey yellow. Like on this chart, I let my knots lift to like between a 6 and a 7. So visually knowing what I was going for also helped me determine how long I need to leave that bleach on, because the longer it's on, the lighter it's going to process. If you're a darker skin tone, you don't need to have your bleach on for that long. You just need it to be like around a number. Keeping around a good 6 is good, and if you're more fair and lighter, you do need a very lighter lift, so you gotta leave it on longer. Doing this really helps give me that more natural to my scalp appearance. This brings me to my next thing, still in the same line of the whole bleaching. I learned that I had to tone my knots, because like I said, I let stay to around that 6-7 where it's like an orangey yellow. My scalp is not orangey, nor is it yellow. It is a neutral brown shade. So I always knew I needed to use purple shampoo to help tone my knots. But purple shampoo only cancels out orange undertones, and since I like to leave my knots for that yellow orange shade right there, I needed a combination of blue and purple shampoo to help cancel out both of those undertones. Now to tone my knots, I use a combination of blue and purple shampoo. Blue is great for canceling out all of those orangey tones, and purple is great for canceling out the yellow tone. And instead of just like squeezing the bottle onto my lace like I used to, I do like to mix it in a mixing bowl and apply it onto with a brush, so this way I'm precisely hitting those knots with the right color needed. So if you're just stopping right at the bleaching and the knots and you don't do any toning, you can get away with it, but you might end up having a very hot Donald Trump orange scalp, and we don't want that for us. Coming hot and heavy with tip number 4 is I make sure when I pluck or just remove hair that I'm removing my hair from the root. For the longest, I was always plucking my hair, and I would just feel like as well, like the bleaching, it wasn't making a significant difference. In fact, I would like pluck my life away and the wig would still look the same. And I realized it's because I was pulling out the hair, but I was never plucking out the knots as well. Like you see how on the camera, all those little orange dots that are coming up, those are the knots because we bleached them. So if I'm not seeing any orange bleached knots coming out, I know I'm not pulling the hair out from the root. It's really important to pull the hair out from the root because it helps give a clean, plucked hairline, and nothing ruins a great install than having like those little black dots or just knots left behind. It just makes it look so messy and dirty and doesn't make the hairline look clean or professionally done at all. So learning to pull my hair out from the root was really important. You can do this one by making sure you are pulling enough, applying enough tension on the hair, and making sure your tweezers are sharp enough to be really pulling from the root, as well as I make sure I'm really narrowing my tweezers close together and being very precise in like pulling that hair out from the root. This helps because when you pull the hair from the root, it helps give that like gap-like look, which gives a clean, plucked, thinned out hairline. Even when I'm pulling out like hair for a widow's peak, I make sure I also pull the hair out and not cut the widow's peak, because sometimes cutting the hair ends up leaving a little piece of knots and you didn't even notice it. So I just pull it out straight to give a clean looking hairline, as we see right here. Now the next thing that I changed for my installs is very small, but makes a whole lot of a difference. I always use a brow razor to cut off my lace. And even by not using a brow razor, I mainly never cut my lace straight across. I try not to use scissors because it's very easy for you to get a blunt cut with your lace. When you're cutting it, you want to have a jagged raw edge to the lace. Even when you see like those HD lace, you see how like it's all like raw and fuzzy? That raw jagged edge kind of like naturally is going to blend into your hairline. Whenever you cut your lace straight across, it leaves a line of demarcation, which just makes it harder to melt. Having a more raw edge, jagged cut to your lace is going to help it lay a lot more seamlessly and give that what lace effect overall. Here's me just excited and admiring my handiwork, because like, I mean, it's really giving what lace. Like, this was one of my most hyper realistic installs, no baby hairs. Like I was just so excited. Like, I just love whenever my installs look super realistic. But back to the tips. A problem I realized going back in my old photos that I had a lot with my wig installs, that my lace was never melted. Like, it was always kind of low-key flying off my head and I just didn't know it. I don't know whether it was the heat or what I was using. I know for sure what I was using, but now for me, making sure that I am melting my lace is really important. When I say melt, I mean I'm actually in my head imagining that I'm melting my lace with these techniques. First of all, I ditched the Got2b. In the beginning, I used to always use Got2b for my hair. People say it works for them, but for me, it does not. It works in the moment, but after a couple moments of sweating, Got2b will leave me in the club, okay? I like to use Ebon lace spray, just like Got2b. It's a glueless spray, comes off with water, but I feel like this is specifically made for like wigs and lace, so it really does the job. On top of using that, I also like to make sure I'm using my blow dryer and rat tail comb, or in this case, the end of my razor, to help me blend and melt in my lace. Like, I take my time and I'm looking at every piece of lace I'm working in that section. I'm really pressing it down and getting it to melt and like flatten out into my skin tone. Into my skin. This is why working in sections is really important, because I don't know how people are able to make sure they're pressing down each piece of lace when they just put it all on at once. I like to work in sections so I can really like be detailed and focus on each little groove and bump and make sure I am pressing that lace down nice and flat. Sure, you can spray it and then put your headband on, but no, I'm telling you, if you take this time to use your blow dryer to help it dry, press it in one by one, you will see a big difference in your overall lace melt. And of course, to help really ensure that meltage, I do make sure I'm putting on my elastic band to help lock in everything. But it's really this combo of the blow dryer and rat tail comb that gets that melted look for me. This brings us to our last tip, which is I make sure I cut off any piece of unnecessary lace. Meaning, like, if there's no hair on that lace that's serving a purpose, I will take my time to cut it off. There was a time in the past where I used to leave like a little inch of lace in front, thinking to make it look more natural. I heard it from a tutorial and that was very wrong. I've realized to get that what lace look, you need to cut off any lace that's there. That's how you get what lace, because there is no lace. I wanted to know that you can see that even though I'm cutting off a little piece of lace, I still did not go and use my scissors. I had to use that brow razor to get that jagged raw edge line so it's going to melt and blend flawlessly into my skin. I've learned the less lace, the better. And with these tips, along with lots of practice and humble moments of looking a little bit crazy, once I was able to kind of crack the code with the wig install journey, I feel like now, as you can see, my installs, they eat every single time. It's giving Scalpiana fresh install. That's her hair. Don't tell me nothing I get so passionate in these voiceovers, don't mind me, guys. But I feel like these are tips I wish I had known back when I started doing the whole wig install game. But you know, you have to live to learn, and hopefully this can help you guys kind of bypass that awkward first wig install phase where people are low-key laughing at you. I know, because nobody wants to walk out with their wig looking insane. That's why some people kind of just avoid doing wig installs in general, because they're scared to look crazy. But look, I was looking crazy and still making these wig install videos, and no one batted an eye. It's part of the process. So yeah, don't let this discourage you from starting. I hope this kind of helps you. But if it did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in another one. And peace out, Girl Scouts. Goodbye.